Ikelite has been manufacturing underwater photographic equipment since 1962. Our success through these decades is based upon our unwavering commitment to customer satisfaction. So, when you purchase an Ikelite compass, flashlight, strobe unit, or video housing, you know that Ikelite is always ready to serve you, the customer. The Ikelite Guide to Underwater Video will help you develop an organized approach to video production. As a result, you'll enjoy the satisfaction of completing tapes that your friends will actually enjoy viewing. The guide features video and how it works, Ikelite camcorder housings and their use, underwater lighting problems, production planning and production values, buoyancy control and its importance in protecting both you and our marine environment, and finally, basic editing and how to create a finished video product. Let's begin by taking a quick look at how video works. Regardless of your format choice, all video shares common elements. Today's camcorders use an image sensing device known as a CCD, which stands for Charged Coupled Device. These CCDs convert light energy to electrical energy, which is eventually stored by the camcorder on magnetic tape. Thousands of small photocells called pixels make up these CCD devices. When light energy strikes a pixel, an electrical charge is created that varies with the intensity of the light received by the CCD. Pixels function as active groups. Some CCDs use 2 pixels per group, while others use 3. As a result, picture quality is determined by the total number of active groups, not simply the total number of individual pixels. Charges created by the CCD chip are first stored and then transferred across its elements to produce a video signal. The video signal generated by the CCD is transferred to and recorded on the videotape via the recording head located on the spinning drum. The video head lays down diagonal tracks on the videotape. Each diagonal track represents one field of video information, which is half the information required to complete one frame. In still photography, one frame represents one complete picture. But in video, the images we see on the television are comprised of 2 separate fields. Each field consists of 262 1/2 scanning lines for a total of 525 lines per complete video frame. During playback, each track is played back one at a time. However, they are played back at such a high rate of speed the human eye perceives them as one complete image. A point that often confuses people is scanning lines and lines of resolution are 2 separate items. The 525 scanning line system described above is a standard set by the National Television Standard Committee, also known as NTSC, which is part of the Federal Communication Commission. Lines of resolution, on the other hand, describes the sharpness of the picture created by the CCD, and it also describes the sharpness of the image played back by the videotape. The CCD chip may be able to produce an image with 400+ lines of resolution, while both an 8mm and standard VHS recording can produce only 240 lines. So why should the CCD be so good if the recording portion of the system is unable to capture the quality produced by the chip? The answer is simple. The better the input signal, the better the recorded image. It's a little like making an audio cassette recording from an audio CD instead of from another audio cassette. Since the audio CD is a better input source than the audio cassette, the audio CD produces a better recording. Now, there are a lot of arguments over which system is better, VHS or 8mm. The bottom line is 8mm and VHS produce comparable results. They both record approximately 240 lines of resolution. Super VHS and high-band 8mm are also comparable in results and produce more than 400 lines of resolution. So if you're still trying to make a format choice, then we recommend either the Super VHS or the high-band 8mm in order to take advantage of their better picture quality. No video discussion would be complete without at least mentioning the lux rating. The lux rating scale does not simply run from 1 to 10. The scale runs from 0, which is total darkness, to 100,000, which represents high noon on a very sunny day. So the difference between a 3-lux camcorder and a 2-lux camcorder is only 1/100,000th of the scale. It's probably not a difference you can see. What is important to remember is these lux ratings represent the minimum required illumination to produce a picture. We certainly don't want to plan production around marginal lighting conditions, so we'll discuss underwater lighting problems a little later in the video. But now, let's move on to the Ikelite Marine Video Housing. It is important that you understand your Ikelite housing and how to maintain it, since it is one of your primary production tools. Both the aluminum housing and the clear housings share common components. For example, each housing will feature 2 lid snaps to secure the housing halves, control glands, shafts, and knobs to operate the camcorder functions, a handle system to control the housing itself and to provide an attachment point for video lamps. All Ikelite housings also feature a base plate or base rods that serve as a platform for the housings and provide attachment points for video lights. Another important feature is the refraction-correcting dome port through which the camcorder lens records. The dome does not widen the camera's angle of coverage, but by correcting for refraction, the dome enables the camera to maintain the same angle of coverage underwater that it has above water. The viewfinder port allows you to see through the camcorder's electronic viewfinder, and an electronic viewfinder magnifier that makes it easier to see through the viewfinder when you're using the housing underwater. To install the magnifier, simply remove the eyepiece from the camcorder, then attach the Ikelite video eye. The camera mounting tray is used to secure the camcorder to the inside of the housing. A wide-angle lens increases the camcorder's angle of coverage. Depending upon your particular model, the lens will either attach to the front of the camcorder or it will be incorporated into the port of the housing itself. The UR Pro color correcting filter helps restore lost color in available light. The cover O-ring on your Ikelite Marine Video system is completely accessible and can be visually inspected to ensure its integrity. Look for worn spots, nicks, or tears that might occur from extensive use. The next important component of your Ikelite Marine Video system is your Ikelite control shaft assembly. This is literally the most reliable control system available and utilizes the patented quad ring seal developed by the Minnesota Rubber Company. The beauty of this control is its simplicity, its dependability, and its customer-oriented serviceability. Look how easy it is to take apart this assembly. This mechanical control system can easily be maintained in the field. First, loosen the set screw in the control knob. Then slide the shaft out of the control gland. Nylon washers may be used to create proper control shaft orientation with the camcorder. Apply a very thin film of Ikelite lubricant to the control shaft. This is not a sealant, so a little lubricant should go a long way. Rotate the shaft slightly as you place it back into the gland. Then replace the nylon washer and the control knob. Tighten the set screw firmly and rotate the assembly to make certain it operates smoothly. Finally, test the housing, without the camera, by placing it in water. Pull the control shafts back and rotate them to test the waterproof integrity of the system. Note the lobed appearance of this quad ring. It provides twice the sealing area. Next, let's look at camcorder installation. It's a good idea to remove the lens cap from the camera before you install the camera. All camcorders attach to a mounting tray. Some trays slide in and out of the housing, while others are attached to the front of the housing. With either housing, slide the control shafts back to allow better clearance for camcorder installation. Fasten the housing by using the stainless lid snaps. Then slide the shafts back once the camera is in place. Check all controls for proper alignment, and you're ready to make your dive. Remember, becoming familiar with your underwater video equipment is the best way to ensure its dependable operation. Your video camera is a pretty impressive piece of electronic gear, but in order for it to perform at its best, you need to understand the two most significant problems associated with shooting underwater video: loss of light and loss of color. Underwater, the loss of light is primarily due to reflection. The surface of the water reflects much of the sunlight back into the atmosphere. As the sun gets closer to the horizon, more light is reflected from the surface, and less light is available underwater. Rough, choppy water also increases the amount of reflection. The auto-exposure feature of your camcorder reacts to this reduction in light level by automatically opening up its aperture. The aperture is the opening in the lens that automatically changes its size to control the amount of light that reaches the CCD. Now here is the important point. As the aperture gets larger, the depth of field gets smaller, and the quality of the video is reduced. Depth of field is the area in front of and the area behind the subject that remains in focus. So as the sun moves across the sky, the amount of available light is reduced underwater. The aperture responds automatically by opening up more and more to let in more light. The result to this increase in aperture size is a corresponding decrease in depth of field. As the day progresses, the loss of bright light also affects color quality underwater. Colors can change from vibrant to dull during the course of the afternoon. You learned in your basic scuba course that color disappears underwater due to selective absorption. Water acts like a filter. It first filters or selects the wavelengths of light that produce the warm colors, red, orange, and yellow. The result is lackluster video that has no color other than green and blue. It's a common misconception that color loss is related only to depth. Color loss is, in fact, related to both depth and camera-to-subject distance. For a given depth, the farther you move away from your subject, the more color you lose in the video. We can compensate for this color loss by using color-correcting filters. The UR Pro filter was developed by Underwater Research Products and represents the standard by which all other filters are compared. The UR Pro filter is used in available light and helps to maintain good color down to 50 feet. Keep in mind that available light is the best light source for your video productions. This assumes you have good visibility of 50 to 100 feet. The benefit of available light is the pleasing and the natural quality that it brings to your video. But we don't always have great visibility, and we don't always dive during the day, so artificial light is a must in these situations. But as the name implies, artificial light can tend to look artificial. During a night dive, video lights are your only light source, so they perform very nicely. But during the day, however, the color temperature of the video light and the color temperature of the available light differ dramatically. Color temperature describes the difference in color between different light sources. It is expressed in degrees Kelvin. As the color temperature increases, the light changes from red to blue. This difference in color temperature between the video light and the available light produces an undesirable reddish-orange color in the video. It's important then that the light sources are the same color temperature. So if you are diving during the day in open water, use the UR Pro filter. But if you plan to dive a shipwreck or dive inside caves and cuts in the coral, then do not use the UR Pro filter. Instead, use a marine video light. Adding marine video lights to your marine video system is very easy. The Pro video lights replace the base of the housing and are attached by a quick-release fastening system. The Videolite 45 simply attaches to the top or bottom of the handle system. Video lights will not penetrate very far underwater, so it's important to stay close to your subject. Keep in mind, the farther away you are from your subject, the more you will light up the suspended particles in the water. We refer to these particles as scatter. Scatter is another effect that reduces both color and sharpness in video. When light hits these particles just in front of the camera lens, it produces a snowstorm effect that we refer to as backscatter. Still, another problem associated with light and underwater video is refraction. Refraction is the bending of light as it passes from one media to another. It doesn't directly reduce color or sharpness, but it does affect what the camera sees. Refraction is the reason we see objects as being closer and larger than they really are. Refraction also causes the camcorder to see things as being larger and closer when we're underwater. This means the camcorder's lens has a reduced angle of coverage when it's underwater. This reduced angle of coverage forces the camera operator to move farther away from the subject just to get it in the frame. And in this regard, it does affect color and detail. The farther away we are from the subject, the greater the loss of video quality due to scatter effects. The solution to the refraction problem is the dome port. Above water, the dome port has no effect upon the camcorder lens, but underwater, the dome becomes a part of the lens system and produces the following effects. First, the dome port corrects for refraction and allows the camcorder lens to maintain the same angle of coverage underwater that it has above water. And second, the dome creates an apparent image. Regardless of the true camera-to-subject distance, the apparent image will always be just inches in front of the dome. The benefit of using the dome is it enables us to stay very close to the subject so we can reduce the effects of scatter while still getting all of our subject in the picture frame. Now, this next point is important. Never zoom in on a subject when you can move in on a subject. There are two reasons for this. First, if you are using the camera's zoom feature, then you are increasing your camera-to-subject distance, and you are increasing the effects of scatter. And second, if you are using the camera's zoom feature, then you are also reducing the depth of field in your video. Depth of field, as you know, is affected by the amount of available light and the corresponding aperture size of the lens. Depth of field is also affected by the focal length of the camera lens. The focal length changes as you zoom the lens from wide angle to telephoto. For all lenses, wide-angle lens settings produce greater depth of field than the telephoto settings. This is true both above and below water. Planning is the key to your video success. Much of your production planning will revolve around your understanding of how to deal with underwater lighting problems mentioned earlier. The first part of your planning is really very basic and involves an equipment checklist. Without the checklist, you might not even reach your dive location with everything necessary to shoot your video. Just as you plan your dive and then dive your plan, take the same approach to video. You need to plan your video shoot and shoot your plan. Production planning and production values go hand in hand. Too many divers get too caught up in having the latest and greatest low-lux broadcast quality camcorders and think that's all they need. Big mistake. So if you're one of these people who turns on the camcorder and then tries to find the action while the camcorder is rolling, this next part is for you. Watch it twice if you have to. Good organization will make it much easier for you to create good video stories. And an easy-to-organize plan is try to tell a story with each dive. Very simply, this means the video needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. The key is to keep your organization simple. Showing a group of divers descending the anchor line can be a beginning. Scenes that show panorama views, followed by diver activity and diver close-ups, can be viewed as the middle. A silhouetted diver with the boat in the background can be the end to your video. The point is, put together a video that has continuity. It can be viewed from start to finish, and it makes sense. The more you take this planned approach, the easier your video productions will become. Eventually, you will find yourself talking to dive masters to find out what special activities to expect on each dive. If at all possible, dive the site just to get a pre-production look at your underwater stage. Will there be schooling fish? Or perhaps a friendly grouper? What about macro opportunities? If it's a wreck dive, then maybe there is some interesting background information that can be used to introduce the dive. What about lighting? We've already mentioned problems of loss of color and loss of lighting, so it's important that you plan your video production around dive sites that provide adequate lighting. Which part of the day will light up your dive site the best, morning or afternoon? Will you be shooting over sand or under overhangs in the coral? Once you have disciplined yourself enough to follow a plan, you will actively begin to direct and produce your video. Keeping a notebook to use as a shot sheet or storyboard will help you to keep organized. First, write down the objective of the video you're about to shoot and outline your shot sequences. Include your opening shot ideas, your main activity, and your closing shots. If your production is going to include more than just one dive, then it's particularly important to include a complete shot list. Without this type of simple organization, you will find yourself trying to piece something together out of unorganized and often unrelated video. Remember, by following safe sport diving practices, you will improve the quality of your video. Shallow diving means better lighting and better quality video. Remember, you learned buoyancy control skills in your basic scuba course, but you didn't exercise these skills with the added burden of underwater video gear. So use some common sense before you go diving with a video housing. First, master your buoyancy control skills and help protect both you and the marine environment around you. The next part of your planning should include how to communicate with your dive buddy. Dive buddies often wind up being models in your video. They also help find critters and help locate underwater activities that will help make your videos more interesting. Before you get in the water, develop some basic signals that both of you can easily understand. Since you understand the problems associated with loss of light and loss of color, you can select your dive locations and plan your shot selection in a more meaningful manner. Shot selection is an important part of your production planning. It will help add continuity to your video, and it will help provide real impact where your production needs some punch. These are the basic types of shots you will use in your video production. Long shots, medium shots, close-ups, extreme close-ups. The long shot can be used to establish the overall scene taking place. The medium shot helps direct our attention to the main action in the scene. The close-up and extreme close-up create additional emphasis on the action. As you move from one activity area to another, remember to utilize these shot sequences to establish the activity and direct the viewer's attention. With each type of shot, you must pay attention to your framing technique. The rule of thirds is an excellent guide to create scenes that are pleasing to the eye. Rather than placing your subject in the exact center of the frame, divide the frame into thirds, both horizontally and vertically, and place your subject near the intersecting lines of this imaginary grid. Shoot your video between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. to take full advantage of the available light. This will enable the camcorder to select a smaller aperture, thereby providing better depth of field. Stay in shallow water in order to get the best video. Down to 40 feet is okay for available light. Below 40 to 45 feet, both color and depth of field really begin to diminish. Check your buoyancy. Find a scene and check the position of the sun. Make certain there isn't a lot of scatter in the water. If there is, either move to another scene or wait for the scatter to clear. Take time to see the action through your viewfinder before you begin recording. Increase the depth of field by moving in close to your subject and avoid using the zoom. Frame your scene using the rule of thirds as a guide. Try to frame your subjects with natural surroundings like the coral and include some background water in the scene. Doing this will help create a more three-dimensional feeling. Hold the camcorder steady. Don't use a lot of pans and tilts. Let the action occur in front of you. Allow your subjects to move completely through the frame before you cut to another subject. Lead moving subjects when you are panning instead of trying to catch up to them as they move through the frame. Allow a minimum of 5 seconds per shot before you cut away to the next shot. Don't shoot down on your subjects, whether they're fish or divers, and don't shoot down on the coral. This takes away all of the three-dimensional aspects of your video. Remember to use long shots, medium shots, and close-up shots. These will help maintain continuity in your video production. It's easy to get rushed with all of the diving and planning, and it's only natural to be eager to review some of the tape you've just recorded. Sometimes this eagerness makes it all too easy to ignore required basic maintenance. Just keep in mind that you have already spent a lot of money for your camcorder and housing, so take a little time to follow simple maintenance procedures. We have already mentioned some of the most important considerations, including care of the O-rings and control shaft maintenance. But don't forget the importance of rinsing your housing in fresh water after each dive. This is particularly important if you are diving in salt water. Rinse the housing with fresh water. Do not simply soak in fresh water. Soaking only dilutes the amount of salt in the water solution. Now that you have planned your video and videoed your plan, it's time to consider editing your tape. Every now and then, you'll wind up with some of those unwanted underwater kamikaze scenes that weren't in the original script. You'll also find yourself wanting to update some of your previously produced tapes. Nevertheless, editing will be a part of your video plan. The most basic editing system available includes your camcorder as a playback unit and your VCR as the recording unit. It is mandatory that your recording deck be equipped with flying erase heads. The flying erase head is an additional head mounted on the drum that erases one frame at a time for precise, glitch-free erasing and recording. It will also be extremely helpful to use a VCR with an audio dub feature. This audio dub enables us to add audio to our edited tapes without creating another recording generation. Now there are two types of edits which we will make: assemble edits and insert edits. Assemble edits are made by building a tape from start to finish. In other words, we are adding video without replacing video. Insert edits, however, replace unwanted video or unwanted audio with new video or new audio. When we audio dub, we are making an insert edit. Many video brands make the camcorder to VCR editing an easy-to-do operation. First, let's start with the assemble edit by connecting the appropriate audio-video out cable from the camcorder to the input of the recording VCR. Note the remote pause connector on the audio-video out cable plugs into the remote pause connector in the VCR. Place the VCR into record pause and set the dubbing on-off switch on the camcorder to on. Next, play back the tape in the camcorder to locate the edit out point on the tape and press pause. Then press counter reset on the camcorder, followed by counter memory. M0000 will appear in the viewfinder. Press rewind or REW on the camcorder to locate the edit in point, and then press the pause button. Finally, press the edit button on the camcorder to start editing. The camcorder and the VCR will pre-roll the tape and then start playback to stabilize the tape drum. The camcorder will send a command signal to the VCR, and the VCR will begin to synchronize with the camcorder. When the camcorder's tape reaches the edit in point, The VCR starts recording to complete a glitch-free edit. When the camcorder's tape reaches the 0000 setting on the counter, the camcorder and the VCR will once again enter the pause mode. Simply repeat this process to continue editing your tape. At this point, we have just created a second-generation tape. It will not have quite the quality of the original. For this reason, the audio dub feature is very important because audio dub enables us to add sound without creating an additional recording generation. This means there is no loss of quality in our videotape. If you are using a camcorder with hi-fi recording, then this part of the audio will remain untouched by the audio dub. Instead, you will be adding audio to a non-hi-fi track on the tape. In order to hear the hi-fi track, you must play back the tape on a hi-fi VCR. Audio dubbing is a type of insert editing. We will proceed with this process by using a VCR. First, connect a microphone or an audio source, like a CD player or a tape player, to the mic jack or the audio in connectors, respectively. Engage the auxiliary mode. If you are recording from the microphone only, then disengage any audio source that might be connected to the audio in connectors. Press play and locate the point from which you wish to begin your audio dub. Engage the pause mode at this beginning point. Press the audio dub button. Then press the play button, and audio dubbing will begin. This procedure can be repeated until you have completed all of your dubs. If you wish to monitor the sound being recorded, then connect headphones to the phone's jack. Editing can be just as simple as what we have discussed, but remember, there is really no substitute for good production planning skills and good diving skills. Understand that it takes more than just owning expensive equipment. The most important factor in producing good underwater video is you.